Well, good evening. So before I call tonight's meeting to order, I'd like to remind everyone that purpose of tonight's meeting is to receive the manager's recommended budget. We'll hold a fiscal year 2022-2023 budget public hearing at our May 17th meeting here, 7 o'clock. There are ample time for town council to ask questions at the budget workshop on May 24th, 6 o'clock at the Law Enforcement Training Center. Two other points, Sean McGrath, or Councilman McGrath, I should say, and Chris Hills are both joining us remotely, so welcome, gentlemen. And then I guess I also better say a quick little happy, 33rd birthday, Mr. McGrath, is that accurate? We'll let it slide, how about that? But anyway, with that said, I'd like to introduce Town Manager, Mr. Randy Harrington.
Thank you, Mayor Majewski. And council, and on behalf of the entire organization, it's my pleasure to present to you this evening my recommended fiscal year 2022-23 operating and community investment plan budget. Before I start, just a couple of quick logistical items. I think at your place setting, at least digitally, you have 5 or 6 documents that were just recently emailed to you. One is the recommended budget book, which provides a lot of detail, more detail in terms of from what you'll hear this evening. Also, the personnel policy, which has some updates in that, and there are 2 pieces to that. There's also a community news release, a budget in brief, and then this presentation. So hopefully you received that in electronic email. So this evening, again, this is just an opportunity to receive the manager's recommended budget. And tonight, I'll talk you through basically 4 or 5 areas. The first one being some key takeaways and an overview of the recommended budget. Talk a little about some operating budget highlights, and then transition into the community investment plan. And then we'll talk about a few other recommendations, and then from that I'll try to wrap things up and summarize the recommended budget for you. I think it's also important to note that this is a summary tonight. It's not intended to be a real specific detail of all the components that are in the budget. You can imagine in a budget our size, there's a lot of moving pieces to it. And so with that tonight, my purpose is to highlight some of those major ones for you and the community. As the mayor mentioned, there'll be a public hearing next week, and then on May 24th at the Law Enforcement Center, you'll have an opportunity for a budget workshop, where at that moment you can dive deeper into the budget in terms of any particular questions you might have, and an opportunity for us to explore any areas of interest to you. So a few key takeaways for this evening and for this budget. First off, I think it's very easy and clear to say that over the past 2 years, particularly over the last year, the nature of the labor market has transformed quite immensely. And through that time period, it has become much more difficult to recruit and retain talented individuals into our organization. So this budget recommends a series of investments to help us on that front, and I'll talk you through those here just shortly. The budget also includes 28 new staff positions to serve a population growth, development-related work demand, and also to run town business support operations that in turn help our departments to deliver services. There's also a heavy focus on updating some of our service delivery models, as well as some of our customer service approaches. And with this, these are really reflect some of the key strategic areas that you have talked about as part of your strategic plan with a high positive impact for our residents. And 3 of these key areas are around yard waste collection, the creation of a customer care center, a one-stop location for residents to call to get information about town services or questions answered. And then in our Parks and Recreation area, we've had a lot of conversation around enhancing our events and our activities, and this budget reflects investments and changes in that particular area as well. There's also, for the 3rd year in a row, no property tax rate change recommended with this budget. The foundation of any budget is a great strategic plan, and I believe you have a great strategic plan. And in that strategic plan, you have 2 core components. One is a statement that outlines who we wish to be as a community. That's your vision. And then in addition to that vision, you have what is most important. And those are the 5 areas that are identified here in the circular diagram. One, around having a responsible and balanced growth. economic prosperity and diversity, organizational excellence, being safe and friendly, and then having an engaged, healthy, and active community. The strategic plan guides really 3 core basic areas: policy development, allocation of limited resources, which you'll hear here tonight, and also it provides council and staff focus on what is most important, again, and to help us ensure that we're addressing the things that our community wants and needs most. This budget is also shaped by what our residents recently have had to say about their town. As you recall, this past November and December, we had a community satisfaction survey, a scientific survey, statistically valid survey. And in it, we heard a lot of great information. Starting out, 98% of our residents say Holly Springs is a great place to live. That's wonderful. 96% of our residents say Holly Springs is a great place to raise a family. And 84% believe or feel that they are satisfied with the quality of town services. Now, in addition to that, we also asked residents, well, what do you think should be some of the focus areas over the next couple years? Where do you think the town should devote a little bit more energy to, or explore a little bit further to see if there are any opportunities for us to be better and stronger in these areas? And there were 6 that were identified. First, management of traffic. 2, management of growth and development. Walking and biking trails, adequacy of street lighting, maintenance of town streets, and visibility of police in neighborhoods. And I think you'll see as we go through the budget recommendation this evening that many, in fact, I think all of these elements are reflected in what you'll see and hear shortly. Mayor and Council, you've had an amazing year this past year. I think our community is so proud of the accomplishments that our business community and our political leadership has guided our organization and our community forward. We've had a number of groundbreakings and openings. We had the opening of UNC Health Rex Holly Springs Hospital. We had the groundbreaking for Fujifilm Diosynth Biotechnologies, Amgen, the Yield with Crescent Communities, and then recently the Holly Springs Road East Section Transportation Bond Project. A lot has been going on. I have to admit, Mayor and Council, I'm a little bit concerned for your health and wellness. With all of this digging of groundbreaking that you've had to do over the past couple of years, I hope your lower back, your arms are not too sore, because I think we're going to have some more groundbreakings here over the course of the next year. But a really exciting time for Holly Springs this past year, and I know we're going to have a really exciting year ahead in terms of continued growth in our community. So as population increases, it's also critical for our workforce level to keep up to serve our community. This particular graph in the blue bars articulates the population growth. We currently project that Holly Springs is a little bit over 46,000 residents. We'll be nearing 50,000 residents here by 2024 or 2025. The orange line represents the number of full-time town staff members. And as you can see here, this graph demonstrates that the town's growth in staffing has been commensurate with the rate of population growth as well. The next 2 slides I'd like to talk a little bit about from a total perspective on the operating side, total operating revenues and then total operating expenditures. The operating budget is balanced at $88.5 million. And property, on the revenue side, property and sales taxes equate to $42.7 million of that number, or roughly 48% of all revenue. The largest 4 revenues comprise roughly 70% of all revenue that the town receives: your ad valorem or property taxes, sales taxes, water sales, and wastewater sales. On the expenditure side, where does the money go? 57% of all expenditures are allocated to 4 key public service areas. Public safety, obviously the largest there at just over $18 million. Water and wastewater, public works, and then parks and recreation. The previous slide was oriented by functional expenditure areas. This slide is reconfigured to categorize expenditures by fund. And when you think of by fund, what I'm basically saying here is each one of these areas has its own checkbook where it has its own revenues and then it has its own expenditures that are balanced to that particular checkbook. If you start at the bottom left corner, the general fund is, the recommended budget includes almost $50.7 million. This is up from the current amended general fund budget of $46 million. The utility fund, a little bit over $21 million. Stormwater fund at 1.8. And then other governmental funds, this comprises primarily PAL bill street maintenance revenues, which are your state shared gas tax revenues, along with emergency 911 funds. Also, two components related to debt service, one in the general fund related to general debt service, and then another one on the utility side of about $4.3 million. The next two slides summarize the new operating and capital investments, and let's start with the operating first. In the general fund, 55% of new expenditures are associated with organizational excellence, and then 24% associated with being safe and friendly. In the utility fund and the stormwater fund, 82 and 90% respectively of investments are associated with being responsible and balanced growth, much of that related to infrastructure investments. One of the things I'll point out on the general fund side, it might look a little bit odd of 9.1 million of new operating expenditures. And while the general fund, this 9.1 might seem a little bit high, I want to point out that roughly 1/2 of this amount is non-recurring expenditures from the current fiscal year budget that have been applied to new expenditures in this upcoming budget. When you look at the community investment plan side, the recommended budget includes approximately $62.7 million of investments in this upcoming fiscal year, with a majority of that being, again, to responsible and balanced growth. As you might remember from a little bit earlier, this area is one of the top areas that residents have indicated that they would like focus on over the next several years. So now let me transition into some of the operating budget highlights. And really, these are highlights that are focused on those changes that are focused on enhancing our everyday lives. These are components that we should experience every day when we're out there enjoying life and our community. At the start of the presentation, I mentioned how today's labor market is drastically different. There's a high level of competition for talent. And to be competitive, I believe it is critical for us to provide appropriate pay and benefit structures so we can recruit and retain talent. This budget includes implementation of a pay and classification study that was done by an independent party to look at our market rates in the region. And with that, approximately 76% of town employees are recommended to receive an adjustment in July that will update them to current market levels. Also, the budget includes a pay for performance program, a merit-based performance program, where employee adjustments could range between 0 and 6%, again, based on that individual employee's performance. I'm also really excited about a couple changes in our health insurance side. As you heard at one of our previous workshops, we have recently rebid our health insurance for medical coverage, and we're joining a pool of 20 other municipalities and counties across the state to help increase our economies of scale, our buying power, and to help mitigate future insurance cost increases. As well, with that, one of the pieces of feedback that we've heard a lot from our employees is opportunities to have more affordable health care. And I'm excited to share that in this recommended budget, there is a new high deductible option for employees that is an option for them to have reduced health insurance premium cost. For example, if an employee selects themselves and their full family to cover, and they choose this high deductible plan, it will equate to $211 per month of savings for that particular employee, which I think is quite remarkable and hopefully a big help for our employees seeking affordable health care. Also, educational advancement. We know that not only does a good salary attract and retain an employee, but many employees today, they want to grow and they want to develop and they want to get better and stronger. And with that, that's not just speaking about professional development from trainings and conferences. It also relates to investment in educational attainment. And so this budget recommends increasing our annual allocation subject to budget availability for employees to have up to $1,500 per year for educational reimbursement. That is up from the current level of $500. And Mayor and Council, I know that I don't have to say this to you, but our employees really are amazing. And they work very hard every day to help ensure that life runs smoothly to deliver quality public services. I'd like you to meet some of these public servants that are on the front lines serving our community every day.
I'm Brandy Phillips. I'm the new HR analyst for the town, and I recently joined our team of 350 full-time staff and about 100 temporary staff. In my time so far, the one thing I've noticed is how great the people are. I really love to learn how they serve the community and to meet more as time goes on.
Hi, I'm Mark Jones. I'm standing here at one of the pump stations in Holly Springs. And every single day, these pipes carry thousands of gallons of wastewater back to the wastewater treatment plant. Now, I know my job, and I love to do my job. And if I do my job right, you won't have to worry about anything. I don't mind working behind the scenes to make Holly Springs a great place to live.
Hi, I'm Carolyn Couch, and I'm the Bass Lake Park Manager, and this is Tinkerbell, one of our hedgehogs. She is 3 years old, and I'm keeping an eye on her because she's very fast and moves around a lot. This is Bass Lake Park. There's a 1.9 mile trail around the lake. You can come out and walk anytime. Come to our visitor center and visit more of our animals. We have 7 snakes, 5 turtles, and 2 hedgehogs and a crayfish.
Hi, I'm Kimberly Keys, and I oversee the design and construction of town buildings. I'm standing in the new renovated space here at Town Hall. And now I'm working on a new operations facility located on the west side of Holly Springs. As the town grows, our facilities grow.
My name is Marcus Gooch, supervisor for the Town of Holly Springs concrete crew. We're in charge of all the maintenance, repair of all sidewalks, curb and gutter within the town. I've been with Public Works for 5 years. The goal of the concrete crew is to eliminate trip hazards and provide safe sidewalks for the residents of the Town of Holly Springs.
Hi, I'm David Summers with the Town of Holly Springs. I'm in the area of Section 540, where we're going to be relocating water lines, sewer lines, some force mains. I've been doing this for 28 years with the Town of Holly Springs, and I love driving through and seeing all the progress that I've had a hand in.
Hi, my name is Cedric Baker, and one of the many jobs I have here at the Town of Holly Springs is to keep the downtown area gorgeous. And that's if you want to build a house or a business. I'm one of the people that you need to come and see to make sure you have all the steps you need in order to make your project a success.
Hello, my name is Deborah. I'm with the Town of Holly Springs, and welcome to our compliance lab. Have you ever thought about your drinking water and the quality of the water that you drink every day? I do. That's my job. We collect many samples throughout town, as many as 50 a month, to ensure the safety and the quality of the product that we provide.
Welcome to Ting Park, one of the busiest sports complexes in the Triangle. 365 days a year, we have something going on, some activity, people out here enjoying themselves. I'm Jay Bracci, manager at Ting Park. If you haven't been out here, come on out. I love my job, can't wait to see you.
Hi, Debbie Mann, standing here in front of the block on Main. Oh boy, has Holly Springs really changed. Over 30-some years ago, I used to collect water bill payments out of a cigar box, and it's been a pleasure serving the Town of Holly Springs.
Hello, I'm Adam. I've been a firefighter for 16 years, and I've been with the Town of Holly Springs for 6. I'm happy to work for a department that's very progressive and has a lot of upward mobility. We're standing on Holly Springs Ladder 14, which is a tractor-drawn aerial. Now I'm assigned with the rest of my company to put this in service. With this truck, we're going to take our fire service protection to the next level, and I could not be more excited.
Hi, my name is Veronica Sinise, and I've been an employee with the Holly Springs Police Department for less than a year now, but I absolutely love it. So much so that I've asked a couple of my friends to also join me at the police department. It was a seamless transition coming to this town, and we have such an amazing chief. I've enjoyed the community and all the members that I've met here, and I'm just super excited for the growth and opportunity that I have at this agency and to grow with the town of Holly Springs.
I love Officer Sinise's energy there and enthusiasm for working for the town and what she brings and what all of our employees bring to the town, and just a little bit of an insight there into some of the jobs you might see on a regular basis and some of the jobs that you may not see on a regular basis. And I am told that there might be a blooper reel on Tinkerbell, the hedgehog. I think that took maybe 3 or 4 or 5 takes maybe to get that particular video vignette there. So we'll try to look for that and see if we can find that one. But anyhow, a lot of great employees in our organization, employees that we want to retain, employees that we want to keep, and we want to attract new employees that are like them. All right, let me transition a little bit here now into talking about some additional recommendations, and I'll start here with Parks and Recreation. The budget includes 2 new positions that will focus on recreational activities and events programming. There'll also be some additional funding to enhance some of our multicultural offerings over the course of the next year. And also, given Council's updated strategic direction for Parks and Recreation, we knew that we would have to adapt our Parks and Recreation management structure to help us to achieve your Parks and Recreation new initiatives. And so with that, this recommendation includes changes with the assistant director at the Parks and Rec Department, having 2 directors, and with 1 director focused on programs and events, and the other one focused on operations and facilities. And we're excited about this adjustment and some other adjustments that are associated with it, again, to help us ensure that we're implementing your strategic plan to the fullest. I'm also thrilled that after, I don't know, maybe 4 years, and for those of you on council who've been on council for 4 years or so, at least during my tenure, you know that we have talked about starting a customer care center. And this is an opportunity for us to have a one-source location for residents and businesses to call if they need service, if they have a question about the town. And so what we're trying to do here, if you can visualize right now, employees, if they're trying to contact the town, there are 31 different phone numbers, general phone numbers that somebody could try to call and figure out who they need to talk to. That is really quite cumbersome. So going forward, the idea and the concept is to have one single phone number, a phone number that's easy to remember, that we can share with our residents, and that is staffed by a group of employees who can answer most all of the questions that come into this particular line, and possibly even ability to function and interact with your government just simply through your mobile device. So there are 4 team members that are recommended. 2 of these positions would be new recommendations, and then 2 positions that would be reallocated from existing areas in our organization where they're currently working in some form of customer service capacity. And we hope to have this customer care center up and running by the spring of 2023. For decades, our yard waste service model has guided residents to simply throw whatever they collect with yard debris onto our public streets. As we near 50,000 residents, this service model is no longer viable or practical. Over the past year of Council's review, I think you have gained a deep understanding of the negative impacts of this current service model and the challenges that it poses to us as we move forward as a larger community. So in the recommended budget, it includes a rollout cart service, and there are a number of reasons for why we're doing this, and I'll highlight just a few of these. First off, though, and this is a really important one, that we are currently not in compliance with our federal stormwater permit that is issued by the federal government. And with that, we are in violation if we are placing yard waste and grass clippings in our stormwater drains, because then those will then in turn go to creeks and rivers and clog our drainage systems. And is unhealthy for the environment. So that's one of the key reasons. Also for improved traffic safety, improved neighborhood aesthetics, easier containment of yard debris, hopefully for homeowners as they're collecting yard debris across their home. And then also to make it safer for employees and less wear and tear on our equipment. And then finally, more sustainable, financially sustainable for the long-term ability to provide this service to our residents. So the budget funds new equipment, carts, free drop-off center, and community outreach. I think it's also important to note that loose leaf collection during the 3 months of the leaf season, typically November through January, will basically continue as is. And this recommendation modernizes and adapts our yard waste collection service model for the 9 months of the remainder of the year. It's also critically important for us to maintain our premier level of public safety. We're the #1 safest community in North Carolina, and we have one of the top-rated fire departments in the nation. This budget recommends 2 new traffic unit officers, again, to help us with neighborhood speeding and to assist with other traffic safety needs. You also see on the slide there this mention around management of traffic. And these officers will obviously help in that capacity, and this is also then augmented with what you'll see in here on the transportation infrastructure side. These 2 pieces will help us on that particular front. I'm also really pleased to recommend in the budget $20,000 to help our police officers with mental health wellness services. I think we all know on a daily basis our police officers get to experience some of the most amazing and gratifying and heartwarming experiences of any position in our organization. And they also get to experience some of life's tragic moments and crises that many of us rarely, if ever, experience in our lifetime. But for these officers, they see this on a daily or weekly basis. And so I'm really pleased and proud to include in this budget. I applaud the chief for including this in his request, a great way to help support our officers in the tough line of work that they do. I'm also pleased to recommend a new fire truck replacement for one of our oldest frontline apparatus, a 2001 ladder truck, and that piece is included in the recommended budget. So let me transition now a little bit to the capital side. These are investments that build a great community, some of those long-term projects that have a lifelong or a long-term asset and facility or roadway investment or utility investment in our community. Let's start with public facilities. And some of these are items that Mayor and Council, you have heard recently us talk about. Fire Station 3, we continue to move forward on that. Recently, Council approved funding for the architectural design services for that particular station. We're in the final stages with Duke Energy in terms of finalizing the exact property survey components and getting that through the Utilities Commission. Also, you'll see here soon, upcoming here in the next 1 to 2 months, a design contract for the operations campus, a $30 million for phase 1, and that's anticipated to begin here in the upcoming year, that design work. And then also with the Americans with Disabilities Act, it's critically important for us as a community to ensure that all residents of our community have equal access to our facilities and our town amenities. And this budget begins implementation of the ADA transition plan to help us, again, to ensure that everyone can access our town facilities and amenities. In the community survey, you saw earlier, quality of town parks and greenways was the 3rd area that was emphasized for focus over the next several years. And I believe your adjustments to your Parks and Recreation strategic components very much address this interest. The budget includes $250,000 to help renovate the check-in area at the Hunt Center and also improve safety and facility pedestrian flow. Also, the Sug Farm Master Plan as well as the Mims Park Master Plan, some components of those advancing forward. On Sug Farm, community garden and nature play areas. And then in Mims Park, adding some signage along the trails to help make it clear for residents who are enjoying that particular park. Also, Castle Holt Park partial design. Council, over this past spring, you had an opportunity to endorse a conceptual plan for that particular park. And this budget includes $2 million to advance planning and design until such time that a full funding source can be identified. It also includes, the budget also includes $350,000 for playground rehabilitation, sunshades, amenities, and benches at Womble Park and Jones Park. So let me map out these investments and along with some additional greenway investments that we have planned in the upcoming budget. Again, I mentioned the playground rehabilitation, sunshades and amenities. They're at Jones Park and Womble Park. The Hunt Center lobby area renovations. We have the Cassholt Road Park, partial design funding. We have 3 priority greenway connections. These include Ting Park to Oak Hall, Jones Park to Holly Springs Road connector, and then on the east side of town, Camp Branch connection, which will connect to the town of Cary's greenway system. I mentioned earlier the Mims Park, the nature trails, providing some clearer signage along those. And then Sug Farm, some nature play and a community garden for our residents. So some exciting investments, I think, here on the Parks and Recreation side. Management of traffic was the #1 emphasis area noted by residents in the Community Satisfaction Survey. And at the annual retreat, Mayor and Council, you recall that you spent a lot of significant time talking about transportation and charting our path forward for transportation investments. This budget includes $250,000 to continue our phasing of the build-out of the town's intelligent transportation system that will help us to manage traffic congestion. Also, as you know, transportation bond investments are underway. Major improvements to Holly Springs Road East are currently undergoing right now. You've had that groundbreaking, and we're working on final design over the course of this next year for Main Street right turn lane, Avon Ferry Road realignment, and the North Carolina 55 bypass right turn lane. And per your guidance at the annual retreat, staff will also begin setting aside general fund balance and year-end savings to help financially prepare for these future investments along the Holly Springs Road central and west areas. Access to safe drinking water is the lifeblood of any growing community. And staff is working hard to secure access to safe drinking water that will allow new homes to be built and continued economic growth for our community for decades to come. On the securing water front, you've heard me talk a little bit over me and staff, other staff talk a lot about a water partnership, the water access in the Triangle region, which we're really proud to partner with the town of Pittsboro, Chatham County, the city of Sanford, town of Fuquay-Varina, and of course ourselves, to increase the water treatment plant at the city of Sanford that in turn will help provide 4 million gallons of water per day to the town of Holly Springs. This map gives you a little bit of a generalization, and I'm not sure if you can see with my mouse, but essentially right here at the city of Sanford, you've got their water treatment facility that will be expanded, and then from there, this blue line represents approximately a 20-mile long transmission conveyance line that will then go to the town of Fuquay-Varina and the town of Holly Springs to connect into. The budget also includes $11.5 million of anticipated financing to finalize 2 million gallons a day increase in water supply from Harnett County. That's $8 million, and then $3.5 million as a supplement, additional funding for the Business Park Pump Station upgrades. The Utley Creek Water Reclamation Facility is also recommended to have funding of $1 million to help advance design of a 2 million gallon per day treatment capacity upgrade. And then along with that, there's funding to undertake master planning for asset management, as well as to begin thinking about the future growth and expansion of our reclaimed water program. So as you can see on this front, the planning for water and wastewater is a long-term effort, and it's an effort that at the staff level we have to look out 10, 15, 20, even 30 years out. And I think these efforts here, I applaud you, Mayor and Council, for helping to get us charted down this path of securing a safe and secure water source for the future, again, for decades to come. So let's talk a little bit about some of the financial investments that are required then to deliver these excellent public services. And the first one I'll start with is a little bit of maybe a tale of two cities, or perhaps better, a tale of two time periods. When you look at the sales, this chart around sales tax, the blue bars represent actuals from prior years, and the orange bars indicate what is currently in budget and then what's projected for the upcoming fiscal year. And then you see the hatched area there is where we think we're going to end this particular year. So you see here what I'm calling the old trend line, very clear, very incremental progression, and quite predictable. Over the last couple years, we've seen a significant increase in our sales tax revenue. And so the question here is, this might be our new trend line. And there could be, I think, 3 areas that are helping to contribute to this change. One is the growth in online sales. 2 are the federal stimulus plans that have occurred over the past 2 years that have supplied more money into the economy. And then as well, just simply population growth in the county and in the town of Holly Springs. And this budget projects the fiscal year 23 sales tax at $11.5 million. On the property tax side, some of the trends are somewhat similar, but again, just a little bit different though. In the FY21, that was a year of a revaluation, and so that saw a change in some of the overall valuation of the community. But the budget projects going up to approximately 7.4 in total valuation in our corporate limits. That's up from 6.4 billion this current year. And if I mistakenly said 7.4 million, I meant billion. If I said that earlier, so we're in the B's here, so billion. When you look at the Wake County property tax rate comparisons, the town of Holly Springs is at 42.16 cents per $100 of property valuation. You compare that with the average municipal rate in Wake County, which is 43.68 cents of the municipalities, that's excluding Wake County. The asterisks on this chart represent what we know today to be any recommended adjustments that managers have recommended to their boards as part of this year's budget process. And you'll see here Holly Springs is the roughly middle of the pack and at 42.16 cents. This budget recommendation also follows and implements the recommendations to modernize and apply industry best practices to our water and wastewater utility rate structure and fees to ensure that we can meet the financial obligations to operate and maintain and invest in new water and wastewater infrastructure. The budget also includes some adjustments to access fees, or what you might consider as base charges on a residential or business water bill. And these access fees apply for, or represent really the ability to tap into and access the water availability of the entire system. And this new access fee charges increase in the recommended budget will increase proportionally to the size of the meter versus what we currently have today. Today what we have is a fixed fee of $13 water, $13 on the wastewater side for a total of $26 per month, whether or not you have a 3/4 inch meter or a 10-inch meter. And so in the recommended budget, you have a new proportional system that as your size of meter increases, your access fee is also going to grow at a proportional rate that is congruent and then reflects that level of system access capacity to water in our system. The budget also recommends an adjustment to the system development fee, which council, you have heard about this over the past several months. And this is the connection fee for new development, and it would increase for the typical 3/4 inch meter would increase from $7,795 for water and sewer to $11,700. This represents an already discounted level from what is authorized in the recent system development fee report and study, and it reflects a lower but still significant 21% ratepayer subsidy for new development related infrastructure, which is in line with industry best practices and norms as outlined by the third-party rate study consultant. When you look at our water rates compared to our region, within the 50-mile radius, 100-mile radius, as well as when you look across the state, our town of Holly Springs average bill is $65.38. When you compare that to the others, the 50-mile radius average is $71, the 100-mile just a little bit higher than that, and the all-state right around $70. This data is compiled by the UNC School of Government. And one of the things that I'll point out for some of you who might remember back to last year, we used a slightly different calculation for this. We used an assumption of 5,000 gallons per month. And with the new rate study that we had recently done, the consultant identified that really the typical user in Holly Springs is more closely aligned to about 4,000 gallons per month. So that's why, if you're thinking back to last year, why that shift in the average bill, that's what that represents. So again, here at Holly Springs, residential bill is roughly 7 to 9% lower than the median bill for other utility customers. So now just a few additional highlights here for the presentation. As I noted earlier, the recommended budget includes 28 new personnel. That's 15 on the general fund side, 9 on the utility fund side, and 4 on the stormwater side. It includes 2 new police officers, as I mentioned earlier, focused on traffic safety and traffic enforcement. We have an assistant town attorney, a new risk manager, the 2 positions I mentioned earlier there related to parks and recreation to enhance our capacity and abilities to do events and programming. In public works, there are 3 positions to help increase the capacity and ability to manage our public works operations. Also a new budget analyst, a human resources analyst, a digital communications specialist, a grants accountant, and a grants writer. Similar, you might think of those as similar, but 2 very different job functions. And then a planner 1 in development services. On the utility fund side, we've got 3 positions associated with the customer care center. Again, the 2 that I recommended or mentioned earlier, they're the 2 new ones, along with a IT, information technology business systems analyst to help with that particular program, as well as its relationship with other programs in the city that will be needed to manage our customer care center. An engineering manager, a program specialist, an environmental technician to help us with water sampling and water quality, and then 3 other positions related to development. On the stormwater side, I'm really proud to recommend our first stormwater maintenance crew. This is a crew that will have its own jetting truck, and it's an ability for us now to start being more proactive as we maintain our stormwater system, particularly around our ditches and culverts, to help ensure that when we have a big rainstorm, this maintenance will help mitigate potential flooding in our neighborhoods and throughout the community. And then an environmental technician for stormwater enforcement and community programs. I also want to just briefly highlight for you where the grant from the American Rescue Plan Act is allocated to. And Council, you've been talking about this, and we've been talking about this for over the past year. And last year, the federal government allocated $12.05 billion in ARPA grant monies for our community. And last year, Council in the summertime allocated in buckets or endorsed in buckets where that funding would go. And you see on the left side of the presentation here on this slide where those 3 kind of core buckets were. On the right side is the updated recommendation, and really what I want you to focus on are the last 2 rows. And this would be allocating the stormwater funding for the Bass Lake Dam Spillway Enhancement Project, and then also adding some additional supplement funding for replacement of the Town Hall HVA system. A portion of this building has been replaced. There's a phase 2 that has yet to be replaced, and this funding would help supplement what Council has previously approved for that particular phase 2. So in conclusion, let me just highlight here. So for the typical homeowner, what is a typical homeowner going to experience then from a cost standpoint, an investment standpoint in their town government and their community? On the fee adjustment, or from fee adjustments for the typical resident, on garbage and recycling, the net impact there, and these are just simply pass-through costs associated with our private hauler, the private contractor that collects garbage and recycling, is a 21-cent difference. The yard waste is recommended to be a 50-cent per month increase, and this would have been higher but for the change to the new yard waste collection service model. Water and wastewater per month, net increase for the typical user of $1.86. And then stormwater, no change on that front. So from a fee standpoint, the typical homeowner in our community will experience a $2.57 per month increase, or stated another way, about 8 cents per day. When you combine these fees then with the total taxes that a resident is typically or is likely to pay, I have 3 examples here. One is a home valued at $100,000. The second one is what is actually the median home value in Holly Springs according to the Wake County tax assessor, and then another value at $500,000. I think one of the things that to keep in mind is that these are assessed valuation tax values. These are not market values. Market values, as we've seen over the past year in particular, are very different, and home values are valued by the tax assessor every 4 years, so they stay relatively constant from a taxing standpoint. But in this particular case, if you take that median household, again, the median, half of the homes are less in value, half are greater in value. In property taxes, that's about $1,500 per year. You see the garbage, recycling, and yard waste fees, the water, wastewater estimated charges, and then the stormwater fee. So for that median household in Holly Springs, their annual investment in their community for police, fire, parks and recreation, public works, water and wastewater, street maintenance is $2,613 per year. That rounds out to $217 roughly per month, or $7.16 per day. So just to wrap up, a few of the key takeaways here again, kind of summarizing again what I mentioned a little bit earlier. This budget has a high level of investment in employees. Employees are how we deliver municipal services. We don't make widgets, we don't make gadgets. It's our people that deliver municipal services. And this budget increases or enhances our ability to recruit and to retain a talented labor market and employee pool. There are new positions that are recommended in the budget, and again, these are for development-related demand and also to help us ensure that we have the capacity to operate and run our business functions in the town that in turn help us deliver services out there in the community. We talked about enhancements to our service models and some of our customer service experiences. These are highly built upon the strategic plan changes and amendments that you have made over the course of this past year to help us have a better experience in our community around yard waste, customer care, and that point of contact for employees. And then again, our Parks and Recreation, which has been a tremendous focus area and interest area for the mayor and council. And then lastly there, no property tax rate change. So let me round out with a few thank yous, mayor and council. And there are a lot of people to thank. And this presentation doesn't occur with one or two people. It takes a lot of individuals. And this is a reflection of 6 months of work. And so let me first off thank you for the investments and the engagements that you have had over the past 6 months. Ever since December, we started talking about the strategic plan and updates to that. And throughout your annual retreat and then through the workshops here this spring, we have talked a lot about the budget, and your guidance and your input has been extremely valuable. So I want to thank you all for that investment and that guidance. I also want to thank our department directors and our budget staff in departments. That's where it all starts. And in particular there, I want to recognize Erica Phillips, who is instrumental in helping us with a lot of these personnel and benefit changes that you heard here tonight. I want to thank our communications and marketing team, our communications and marketing director, Cassie Hack, along with Tamara Ward and Mark Andrews, who do just a tremendous job helping us translate a lot of this information into material that the community can understand. It's simple, it's straightforward, and helping us get our word out about the great work that we're doing and the investments that are planned for our community. I also want to thank our Executive Director of Infrastructure, Utilities and Infrastructure, Kendra Parrish, along with our 2 assistant town managers, Scott Chase and Daniel Weeks, who have also been really instrumental in helping us from a leadership capacity guide us to this particular point in time. And let me also say, we have 2 amazing financial and budget staff members here on staff, 2 individuals who are really rock stars, do just a tremendous job, and it's really my pleasure and honor to have them alongside me in terms of preparing a budget. And that's Corey Peterson, our budget strategy and innovation manager, along with our finance director, Antoine Morrison. Really just do a tremendous job, and I appreciate you both being right there by my side. And with that, Mayor and Council, the last steps here tonight are to, really there's nothing else planned on the agenda for this evening, but on May 17th, you'll have the budget public hearing. Welcome and encourage any community members to come out and make your voice heard on the budget. Then on May 24th, you'll have an opportunity again there for your budget workshop, a chance to explore, ask questions, a chance for us to share a few more details about what's in the recommended budget. And then on June 7th, if you're ready, that's when we have scheduled the budget adoption for your consideration. If anybody would like to receive or find more information about the budget, they can easily find it at our Holly Springs nc.gov website. And all this information that I mentioned at the very start of the meeting will be on the website. And you can also contact the town clerk. The information will be on file with her, Linda McKinney, and residents are more than welcome to call her to receive any particular copies. So with that, Mr. Mayor, I think that concludes the recommended budget presentation. I'll turn it back over to you to wrap up the meeting.
I do appreciate it, and all the folks you mentioned, they really don't get the kudos that they deserve. A lot of work went into that. I think I mentioned to you earlier, I saw Mr. Corey floating around lunchtime, and I know my man is going to find a pillow tonight. Him and Mr. Antoine, no doubt about it. So appreciate what y'all done. Appreciate the presentation. I thought it was done well. We liked the video. I think that was pretty neat, bringing some folks that probably haven't met quite yet. So that was pretty neat to see. And I know that we're looking forward to next week, hearing a little bit more about it, and hearing some of the questions from council. So nothing else here. Counselor, anything for a closed session?
No, sir.
Not this evening? Very good. Can I get a motion?
Motion to adjourn. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you very much.